Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 9 of the anime series Ushio to Tora. And this episode, wow, it was just a really good episode for me. Borderline emotional in places, and I'm an animal lover in life, and so I'm already a proponent for this idea of, scaling back the industrial building and everything, which is overrunning and overcoming much of these different animals and living, creatures that coexist with us on this planet, overtaking their natural habitats and everything. And I'm all for trying to put a cap on that. I mean, when we have so many vacant homes in the U.S. alone, per every homeless person, they could have like 3 homes to their own that are just sitting vacant. Why do we have to keep building and building and building and expanding further, encroaching upon the natural habitats of all these living creatures? And in a sense, this episode had multi-layers of commentary along that line and really made you feel, for the first time, I thought, for a yokai. We're seeing the other side of this ongoing battle, the shades of gray, if you will, that not everything is black and white, good versus evil. Just because you have a yokai, it doesn't mean it's necessarily bad or evil. There is tension between this trio of very lycanthropic, they're called kamaitachi, and they look kind of like giant ferrets instead of the more, werewolf aesthetic where human beings change into a giant feral beast. And they look adorable in their sort of animalistic form or whatever. But of course, because their whole plight is they've been chased out of all of these different natural habitats. And it's interesting, of course, it's like hearing the voice of the animals that would they have been able to speak. This is probably what they would be saying. They'd be upset that, their land, their homesteads have been taken away time and time and time again. If humans aren't already hunting whatever breed of animal it is, to boot, to add insult to injury, the animals themselves would probably say, why do you have to take our homes from us? And I like that Ushio can kind of relate on a personal level, even though it's not quite the same thing, losing a jungle gym in his local park, but he can understand what it's like losing something that you become so attached to, that you spend so much time in the presence of and everything like that. And I just really felt for this family, the brother who went rogue, it's kind of like he has to win you over a little bit because you're not sure why he's so on the attack, why he's so bloodlusting and everything. But when you come to understand what the impetus is behind it, how joyous he used to be, and the interesting relationship between this, kamaitachi yokai group with humanity. They talk about, basically one would like trip up a human, another would slash at the human, and the third would heal the human. And I was wondering what exactly the purpose of that might be. They didn't explicitly state one way or the other how that all works out, what the meaning behind it is. And I had begun to wonder if there was some sort of mental manipulation involved where maybe they would take control of a human being just by slashing them and healing the wound. Somehow it would leave a manipulation effect open for a human, and then they'd tell the human, leave us alone, and it'd go away. The person would go away. And then I started thinking, well, maybe it's actually sort of a way to keep a sense of peace for humans who come upon these creatures, these kamaitachi. Maybe the whole point was to let humans know, hey, we're good. We can coexist. Oh, you're wounded, we'll heal your wound. Of course, they end up purporting a way and manufacturing a way to make sure that human does get wounded. They do it themselves. But then, maybe they heal whoever the human being is and send them on their way, and the person's like, oh, well, they were helpful creatures, something along those lines, to leave them alone, to let them coexist. I don't know. That's just my speculation without much more to go on. But of course, the whole entire thing crescendos to this, this husband and wife or whatever it is, the two out of this trio, very desperately need something done, and they find Ushio with the beast spear before they even know, I guess, Ushio's nearby or whatever. I'm not exactly sure if they're aware of it. Maybe they get a sense of the beast spear, but they knew ahead of time that was the only way they were going to stop this rogue brother of theirs, and in one case, brother-in-law, I guess. And so, of course, they challenge Ushio to see if he can manipulate and wield the beast spear. They bring Ushio and Tora out into the, woods where they're living now. And they have the discussion, and it's like, Ushio's first reaction is, you just want me to kill your brother? What the hell? We can't come to some sort of agreement. We can't talk this out. Very human sort of reaction, but it's not the average reaction as we see, because the average reaction is to chase these creatures out. It's to pelt them with stones. Once everything finally leads to this quarry, this where all this crescendo finally erupts and happens, you have basically, the two of these Kamitachi trapped as the third had tried to, escape, and he knocked a whole, rock fall on top of them. And Ushio and Tora are trying desperately to save their lives, and this finally starts to get at, of course, the rogue brother. He's seeing a side of humanity he's probably never stopped long enough to see before. A compassion. Humans who would apologize for having, inadvertently sort of guilty by relation, being part of whatever movement chased them out of their homestead, and now it's happening all over again because of a highway being built and all this kind of stuff. And it just got really uber emotional when you see this brother finally understanding and finally getting his wish, but he realizes, and here is another aspect of the commentary, it's almost an allegory, if you will, for the industrial scientific complex. The progress of science and industry and, machinery and all these kinds of things, mechanics, versus the mythologies and the religions of old. And there's a point where this brother, he rams himself into the beast's spear to take his own life, and he feels like, we don't fit in this world anymore. That's kind of his dying sentiment. And to me, at least, it really felt like an allegorical way of saying, as we, as a human species, as a culture, as we move ever forward, and we have science, and we have all these different things, again, industry and machinery, mechanics, and we're being able to sort of put under the microscope, even on a quantum subatomic level, all the way out into the universe, all these different things. And we're seeing that the mythologies of old, the idea of deities and gods and goddesses and one god, even this day and age, is such a popular myth that so many people just devil may care embrace, and they don't really try to think it out and look, fall back on their own haunches, their own conscience. They need something greater to explain it all. And in a sense, it's very much a duality of those two ideas. The idea of how, because of our evolution forward, we're encroaching upon these natural habitats of these animals, these creatures who, where else can they go? They become displaced, and then we as humanity act like, why are they coming into our land? Why are they, suddenly encroaching upon our land and everything, when we're taking their land away, their homes away, as well as I say, this just great idea of encapsulating the preposterousness of certain mythological belief sets, and how, as we continue forward, that has to become a less and less viable to be existing in our world frame of thinking, a mindset. Or perhaps I'm just reading that much more into the story, but of course by the end, seeing this brother taking his own life, seeing the two who are left behind now having to mourn him and being right back sort of at square one, even though they get to witness the humans, the construction workers of this quarry, going in and saving them, helping to save them, helping Ushio and Tora to save them. There's just this great idea of human compassion, and if we set our minds to doing the right thing, we can accomplish wonders. But at the same time, everything we do comes with a cost, and you have to take all of that into consideration. And in this case, in this episode, not only was this brother, Kamitachi's life the cost, it was also apparently Tora's losing his arm and Ushio almost dying, after he's attacked by this third brother, and they have to give him the medicine to sort of wake him back up or bring him back out of this comatose-like state or whatever. And then, of course, with Tora's arm, he just sort of bandages it up and puts it back together. You can still use it, even if it's not attached, which was hilarious. But yeah, a little bit of a long-winded, rambly reaction to this episode, but suffice to say, it was just very impactful to me on multiple levels, multiple tiers, and this show has surpassed a sort of low to mid-range level of expectations from the outset. I didn't exactly know what I was going to be getting into with this series. I'd never seen the precursor series that it's based on or the origin material that it's based on. And every step of the way, I find myself continually surprised, pleasantly, by the emotion and the thought that is going into each of these stories. Sometimes they fall back on the episodic thing, and that can be like, Freak of the Week, and we've had enough of that. But I like where in this particular, case, even though we haven't gone that much further in Ushio's search of his mother and all that kind of stuff, I know it's coming. And this episode, the impactfulness and the weightiness of the story in itself was enough to make me just sit back and go, wow, this was not wasted time in any way, shape, or form. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 9 of Ushio to Tora, if you've seen it, if you enjoyed it as much as I did. If not, why not? Let me know in the comments below. I love having the conversation with you guys. And so yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.